Hi, this is me. I have a few degrees in English. My BA is from the University of Calgary, and my Master's is from the University of Western Ontario. Currently, I'm taking my Bachelor of Education at U of C, and as an English secondary specialist, it has me thinking, what counts as English? I know a lot of you will pull up images of classical literature, maybe books, pens, paper, and long hours of reading inscrutable poetry. Teachers of English, such as Al and Luke, are likelier to think of English teaching and schooling as political interventions, struggles over the formation of ideologies and beliefs, identities, and capital. Indeed, Luke has seen the shift in English from print to TV to internet, from the three-point expository essay to multimodal webpage, from blank verse to urban rap, from BBC English to Singlish, from language experience to phonics, and from a view of English as a means for enfranchisement and emancipation to English as a mode of empire and colonization, Disneyfication and McDonaldization. Indeed, English constitutes and is constituted by shifts in culture and community, flows of capital and discourse, emergent technologies and communication medias, as much as it might entail language or literature per se. Luke is correct to label all these things under the umbrella term of English because each of these correctly expresses our fascination with borrowing in the English field, what Luke refers to as framing. Perhaps it is cultural acuity or a demographic understanding of knowledge acquisition, but English has tended to, in Piagetian terms, assimilate structures of comprehension from outside fields or bodies of knowledge. Indeed, if value were ascribed to any faction of English, it would be impossible to reach consent, as each borrowed notion is in itself a part of a larger socioeconomic purpose. Math and science don't experience the same disparity, since knowledge value coincides with knowledge acquisition in these fields. You need to know what a number is in order to add them up, and you need to know what addition is in order to use a Pythagorean theorem. Therefore, ascriptions of value can be based on hierarchy. Apart from semantics, where a subject plus a verb equals a main clause, English on the conceptual level cannot exist in this form. Critical thinking becomes a tool to be used in application only, and in almost the opposite fashion, classrooms have begun to respond to a desire for culturally specific critical literacy, rather than an objective and collective epistemology. For example, Anne Lopez describes a classroom unbound by prescriptive notions of value and knowledge, responding to increased calls for teachers to examine the curricula and their teaching practices, in the face of diverse students not achieving the success in schools that they should. Lopez acutely discerns that learning must be relevant to students' lives and experiences for them to experience academic success. Indeed, alternative texts and producing countertexts have become a part of the English norm, calling for students to speak from their point of view on behalf of those who are often silenced or marginalized. Understanding this shift towards the countertext as text can help frame the current political climate of English classrooms as one valuing bottom-up forms of knowledge rather than ascribing value to a prescriptive canon. This bottom-up model centers students as the canon, as the center of knowledge in classrooms. Even the Alberta Programs of Study redefine the meaning of the word text as inclusive of oral, print, visual, and multimedia forms, and responded to context, namely purpose, audience, and situation. For these reasons, it becomes obvious that what counts as English are the people in it. This verbose introduction is not meant to obliterate any hope of there being a definable English score, but instead is given here in anticipation of any admonishment of the following. It is my belief that in our current socioeconomic, culturally specific, and time-dependent milieu, that future English classrooms will become indistinguishable from technology studies, based on the students involved. We are a culture constantly in a technological flux, and we are adding new context to our archaic understanding of the English field. John McWhorter states that texting is part of our social language, and any digital humanist will attest to the idea that a socially edited web page is a modern equivalent of a multi-author text. With technology adding more and more to our language and our understanding of literacy, why should classrooms shy away from adopting programming as part of what counts as English? Digital materialities are already becoming a part of the English text, but their basic technological language is deemed too field-specific for English classrooms. I argue that it is not, since in my field experience, I witnessed several students with a penchant for programming themselves. One in particular created his own application and won scholarships for his skill. Are they not applying the methods learned in English class to these fields? Reading, writing, critical thinking, analyzing, and interpreting are all skills that count as English. For some students, it is a fascinating hobby that they can take up or pursue in university, but why not expose them to this field as part of the core language of schooling much sooner? Students are already online. They're computing, facilitating, synthesizing, and understanding gigabytes of information with lightning speed. These students don't want to enter classrooms that ask for the rote memorization of poetic patterns. They want English classes that ask them to analyze the patterns of user-generated taxonomy tagging. English tech is long due for a trial run. Moving past what counts as English, this creeps on the big ideas that are on the horizon for the field. If we continue to expand at this voracious rate, we're due to consume a wealth of field non-specific knowledge into the curriculum. In this fascinating conceptual way, English becomes more about the people studying it than the field they study. As we demand more technology in our lives and schools, we practice a new form of transmediation, applying skills from one set into another. As Jennifer McCormick says, transmediation itself stems from semiotics, the study of signs. Signs can be understood as representations of something else, words as stand-ins for meanings, paintings, and statues as representations of the physical world. And why not digital text as stand-ins for our ideas, and these texts as stand-ins for the people encoding themselves within it? The new kinds of understandings born out of this mediation, creation, and interpretation of text are themselves a fundamental part of the English mindset. What becomes taught in English classrooms, and what ultimately counts as English, is not any objective knowledge found in books or shared amongst any one group, but instead constitutes a way of knowing and interpreting, applying and creating, no matter the medium.